How's it going, Yankee fans? Welcome back to Fireside Yankees. We got another game today at 4 p.m., and the lineup is exactly the same as it was for opening day, which is very exciting because I woke up kind of nervous that Aaron Boone was already going to bench Oswaldo Cabrera after one, kind of sketchy performance, had 4 at-bats and 4 strikeouts. Obviously, a couple of missed calls there by the umpire, but, not his best performance by any means. But the thing about baseball, it's all about consistency and getting more experience, getting more reps, getting into flow, and the fact that we stuck with Hicks through 2 awful seasons, I think we can survive one bad game from Oswaldo Cabrera and continue to rely on him as our everyday starting left fielder. But, we're going to break down this lineup for you guys, pretty similar to the opening day as I mentioned. And another big piece of news that just came out a couple minutes ago. The Yankees have designated former number 1 prospect Estevan Florial for assignment. So we'll kind of react to that, give you some information there, our expectations for today, the pitching matchup and everything, a little bit of analysis so you guys are ready for this game. But Ryan, before we dive into it, how you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. Ultimately, I think the Yankees sticking with Oswaldo Cabrera is going to be the right decision. Obviously, guys can struggle during a season, and it's not guaranteed that you're going to have success. But the right process move is to rock with your most talented players. And I've said this about Cabrera before, but he is a player who is unbelievably talented at the plate. He's got all the skills you want in terms of pulled fly ball rates. He's a switch hitter. I think the swing decisions are still better than average. Maybe he's a little too jumpy right now, but it's as you said, it's one game. I'm not going to overreact to that. But this lineup, I think, is the lineup they should be rocking with, minus Bader, of course, for most of the season, right? As often as you can get Stan in the lineup, you try to get him in the lineup. As often as you can get all 3 of your, veteran infielders in Donaldson, LeMahieu, and Torres in the lineup. Well, Donaldson, pending, of course, him having a good year, you try to get them in the lineup as much as possible. Personally, I think that, obviously this lineup's not going to be the same on October, whatever the postseason starts. But it's encouraging to at least feel like the Yankees are trusting their young players and they're not, quick to pull the hook on them. I don't know if you remember back in 2021, Frazier was someone that really struggled that year. He was awful, and he had a really good 2020. There was some chatter about how the Yankees didn't necessarily give him enough run at the position, but I think Cabrera is a different player. I think Cabrera is a different player than the guys that we've seen in the past, kind of the Andujars or even Florial. I think is a great case of this, where they just didn't have the recent MLB success to justify to keep playing them. Cabrera does have recent MLB success to justify being played. And I think the Yankees aren't gonna, especially Aaron Boone. I don't think he's going to overreact to small struggles from Cabrera. A lot of the reports from spring training and from anyone that's in Yes or anyone that's been around the organization is that Cabrera is one of the most well-liked guys in that clubhouse. He's like a guy who just never stops smiling. I think there's multiple reasons they want him in the lineup, off the field and on the field. So I don't anticipate that changing for a while. I obviously feel the same way about Volpe, of course. He didn't get a hit in his first game, but the Yankees are going to roll with him until, really, I think they're going to roll with him until he's absolutely proven that there's nothing there. I think they're going to give him a lot of run as well. So a lot of Yankee fans who are maybe concerned that the Yankees are going to start making changes and put in guys who aren't as talented as these younger players, I don't see that happening unless it's an off day or someone gets hurt.
Yeah, look, this is a totally different situation between Florial and Volpe, obviously, but you look at Florial's tenure with the Yankees, marred by injuries and inconsistencies, and really just did not look comfortable ever. AAA, he looked pretty solid. His numbers are good. The only standout number that unfortunately had translated to the MLB was his strikeout rate and chase rate, which was really high. And ultimately, if you strike out a lot at the AAA level, it's only going to get worse at the MLB level. So unfortunately for Florial, he couldn't work out that last remaining kink. He couldn't just get the right amount of patience and discipline at the plate. Great athlete, good defensive player. The offensive portion of his game is next to non-existent. And a lot of people will say the Yankees didn't give him enough of a sample size, and unfortunately, the reality is that we just didn't have any other minor league options left. If we had minor league options, we would have absolutely used them. He'd still be on the roster. He'd still be on the team, or rather, he'd be with Scranton most likely. But now, you just unfortunately have to cut bait. You have to make that difficult decision. And you have other players who have earned the right to be here. Oswaldo Cabrera is a big one, and as I mentioned before, I was really scared that they were going to start Hicks in this game, but they're committing to the same lineup. They're giving these guys consistency, and I think that's a really good thing. So, we can kind of look ahead and say to ourselves, all right, we move on from Florial, we focus on the guys we have in the team right now, obviously that being Oswaldo, Anthony Volpe, Oswald Peraza when he gets called up, and you kind of just walk into the sunset knowing that, you did your best, and ultimately it just didn't work out. But looking at today's lineup, same exact one as opening day on Thursday. You got DJ LeMahieu leading off, which, obviously had a RBI a single, I believe, in that game. You got Aaron Judge at second, obviously. Rizzo third, Stanton fourth, who's still playing the outfield, playing right field. So that moves Gleyber Torres. Actually, in fact, LeMahieu's DHing today, so a little bit change up in the defensive alignment. Torres is starting in the field today. LeMahieu at DH. Donaldson still batting fifth here and manning the hot corner. Cabrera in left field. Trevino set at catcher, rather. And then Volpe at shortstop and Clark Schmidt on the mound against the San Francisco Giants and Alex Cobb on the other side of it. So we'll take a look at those pitching matchups as well. But, the only big change here is Torres starting in the infield and LeMahieu at DH. What are you thinking about that? I just think they're going to flip flop those guys. They want to get Torres some defensive reps. They want to increase his value, whether they end up moving him or not. He obviously quieted the kind of rumors the other day with that Oppo two-run blast with Donaldson on base. So you get a little bit of value there from Gleyber Torres. He showcases his quality. Any thoughts about him starting in the field today? DJ LeMahieu just kind of pushing back into the DH spot. I'm sure they're just trying to mitigate fatigue with him and keep him healthy for the rest of the season.
It just feels like hey, let's just switch these two guys around. You played second base Thursday. Let's have you DH today. Torres, I think, I have said this all offseason as well. He's an important part of this offense. The only way the Yankees could justify trading Gleyber Torres is if they got an outfield bat of similar caliber and put him in the lineup. And that just didn't exist for them, right? Maybe you could have argued Anthony Santander, but we're not GMs. We don't know what the value on Anthony Santander is for the Orioles compared to what it is for the Yankees, or the inverse of that. What's Gleyber Torres' value to the Orioles versus what it would be to the Yankees. So, I think them holding on to him for now, at least, is the right move, right? You're a World Series caliber team. The same reasons for Florial not playing or not being able to be rostered on this team are the same reasons why you don't just trade Gleyber Torres. It's a win now team. They're trying to win games right now. They're trying to win the American League East. They're trying to win the World Series. And, and some people who don't like Gleyber, this is going to be unfortunate for you to hear. And then for the rest of the fan base, you're going to love to hear this. Gleyber Torres is a kind of a mandatory part of that, right? Like if Torres were to go down with injury, the Yankees would feel that, right? This is a really quality hitter. The Yankees don't have a lot of hitters that are as reliable, that are as consistent, and more importantly, just as dependable in the sense of like, I kind of know what Gleyber's going to give me. I don't know what I'm getting out of Donaldson. I don't know what I'm getting out of Volpe. I wouldn't know what I'm getting out of Peraza. I feel very safe that Torres is going to give me the outcomes I'm looking for, and that's so valuable for this team. The big flaw with this team isn't, their lineup sucks, or their pitching stinks, or, their general manager's an idiot, whatever people like to say. The biggest issue with this team is there's a lot of question marks. We don't really know what's going to happen, even with tonight's starter, right? I love Clark Schmidt, but can I reasonably tell you that there is a 100% guarantee that Clark Schmidt's going to be able to pan out as a starter? No, I can't guarantee that, right? This team has a lot of question marks, and that's okay. They have the depth to hopefully answer some of those question marks, but we just don't know who those answers are going to be. But for Gleyber Torres, he's that safe piece for the Yankees that I think he's going to end up pushing himself higher up this lineup. I really don't think he's going to hit behind Donaldson for much longer, and that's not even an overreaction. I think he's a better hitter coming into the year. I think he might be, and he's going to stay a better hitter throughout the season. But Torres, he's a big part of this team, and I don't want people to misconstrue, him being an infielder on a team with a lot of infield prospects as making him useless. It just means he's a surplus.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, right now, let's focus on today's game. Coming up in a couple hours. Still raining a little bit in New York City, but it's supposed to stop really soon, like 15 minutes or so. So I think this game will be, played more than fine. Plenty of time to dry things off, and it'll be a little bit warmer later on. Same time, should be raining a little bit at 6 p.m., so hopefully they can get this game through and through. But let's take a look at the pitching matchups. You kind of referenced Clark Schmidt there for a second, and obviously Garrett Cole has a lot of really great things to say about Clark Schmidt. And one of the quotes that he said yesterday was pretty awesome. He said, he's just freaking intense. He's an animal. He's got a high revving engine. He's just going to sit at 9,000 RPMs until you take the keys away. That's how I was. You look at Garrett Cole's style and his strategy. He's very composed. Guy's got ice in his veins. He doesn't show much emotion on the mound, and he plays a psychological game when he's facing opposing hitters, and he doesn't want to give them any leverage. So he doesn't show frustration, doesn't show confidence. He'll have a couple of moments where he gets hyped, but he stays pretty level-headed because he doesn't want to put himself in a spot where he can be taken advantage of, or he feels as though they have, a psychological advantage and leverage over him, for whatever reason. And he wants Clarke Schmidt to be that same way. That's his guy. Clarke Schmidt is Garrett Cole's guy. He's taught him a lot. He's taken him under his wing. Great person to have, mentoring you for what it's worth. But Clarke Schmidt had a little bit of a bumpy spring training, adding a cutter to the mix, which you kind of discussed a lot in previous episodes, and is showing a lot of really great movement, and that should be a pretty nice pitch for him this year. But Clarke Schmidt is more than capable of being a very, very good player on any given day. It really just comes down to how he's feeling. One day he'll give up 5 earned runs in the first inning. Next time around, he'll strike out 10 batters in 5 innings. And you're like, okay, that's a different player. You never really know what Clarke Schmidt's going to show up, what version of him. So you kind of playing Russian roulette there, but he is so good when he's on, and that's kind of what the Yankees are hoping for. You get 80 pitches out of him, maybe get to the 5th inning, end of the 4th inning before fatigue starts to set in, and you kind of see his velocity drop off, and then they start to hit him a little bit. He can be very good for you for 4 innings, I think. That's kind of where things start to kind of take a little bit of a nosedive. But the Yankees have plenty of bullpen pieces that can kind of pick up the slack. Now, Ron Marinaccio pitched 30 pitches on opening day, so I would not expect to see him. But, we'll see some of those middle guys get some action today, and Clay Holmes will probably get the save if they are in a position to win this one. But, what is your confidence in Clarke Schmidt? We'll break down Alex Cobb next and how the Yankees might be able to take advantage of him.
Yeah, so Clarke Schmidt is someone who's got a lot to prove, and I think he knows that more than anyone else. He knows more than anyone in this world that he's got something to prove today. He's pitching what is a big game for the Yankees. It's their first game on Fox as well, so national television. Clarke Schmidt has the stuff, right? In terms of movement, talent, the pitch mix, it's all there for him, right? I have no quarrels with this idea that Clarke Schmidt can go out there and be a really good starter. I don't want to place a ceiling on Clarke Schmidt because that's how good his arsenal is, especially with that cutter. He really didn't have a fastball offering that I looked at and said, this is a pitch that you can use versus righties and lefties and just kind of throw over the hard of the plate, and it's not going to get hit very hard. His sinker obviously is supposed to be a ground ball pitch, but I feel like his sinker is pretty hittable. His 4-seam fastball was atrocious. I don't want to mince words here. His 4-seam fastball absolutely stunk. And replacing it with a cutter is night and day. You go from an awful pitch to a plus pitch. That's a win for you. You mentioned kind of how, Clarke Schmidt's a very intense guy and how, Cole's documented that intensity. I think that's something that he's going to have, he is, and Cole talked about this as well with trying to manage that, but that's something that's going to be difficult to manage, right? As you're not being asked to just be a reliever where that intensity kind of benefits you. You're just going out there and you're letting it rip for 30, 40 pitches. Now you've got to figure out a way to navigate through a lineup 2 or 3 times through. We know Clarke Schmidt can pitch 3 innings and do so effectively. No one's asking those questions. No one's asking, can Clarke Schmidt pitch in a major league bullpen? Everyone's asking now, can Clarke Schmidt get you past the 5th inning? Not through the 5th inning, past the 5th inning. That's what he's got to prove over these next couple of weeks. He's going to have time to prove it. He's going to have a couple of starts to prove it. And if he can get off to a hot start, he can find himself in this rotation long term. And worst case scenario, you try it as a starter, it doesn't work, and he ends up being a really good reliever. The stuff is there for him. I have no concerns that he's going to be a quality major league pitcher. Now it's just a matter of proving, can he do it as a starter? Can he do it as a reliever? Because there's a lot of money to be had as well as a starter. These guys want to be starters. They don't want to be relievers. So, I think he's got it. He's got everything he needs to go out there and succeed on the mound as a starter. It's just a matter of, can he put it all together?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's take a look at the opposition today in Alex Cobb, who the Yankees can take advantage of. Now, he's a really ground ball inducing pitcher, has the splitter, sinker, curveball combination. Last year he threw that split finger fastball 42% of the time, and the sinker 42.5% of the time, and then the curveball at 15%. So he's really going to use that split finger, that splitter, and then the sinker combination. And then you're looking at him trying to get that ball low in the zone to induce those ground balls. 61.5% ground ball rate last year, right? 68% left on base rate. So he's not a crazy strikeout pitcher, but he gets good strikeouts at 9 Ks per 9. And then, velocity hovers around 95 miles an hour, which actually was a career high for him last year at 34 years old. Now he's 35 for the first time in a long time. Since 2018, he pitched over 150 innings, or 149 rather, just one out shy of 150. But Alex Cobb's a decent pitcher. This is a guy who you really just got to wait like we saw against Logan Webb. Aaron Judge waited for that sinker to just land in the right place and launched it over the fence. He's a really high ground ball producing pitcher as well. So kind of a similar strategy here. You just gotta wait for that pitch to be a little bit up in the zone and then try and crank one. I anticipate, you need to get those with the shift being banned. A pitcher like Alex Cobb may not get the benefit of that because those ground balls may get through the gap. So hopefully you're looking at good base running today as the primary thing here. You're trying to really get on base and steal a bag. I'm looking at Anthony Volpe today as someone that might be able to. He had 2.6 walks per 9 last year. He doesn't walk a ton of batters, but if you're gonna slap some singles through the gap, once you get on base, we need those athletes, those guys like Oswaldo. I guess you could say even like Judge had a couple of bags stolen last year, like Glaber, like Volpe. You need them to steal second base, and then you got to get a single to bat them in. You're not going to get a lot of home runs off of Alex Cobb, most likely. Did give up a 10.2% home run to fly ball ratio last year, but like I said, keeps a lot of balls on the ground. So you're going to have to just have really aggressive, good base running, make smart decisions, and use your contact capabilities to bat some runners in and hopefully pick up some runs along the way. How do you think the Yankees are going to attack Alex Cobb in his style of game?
Yeah, so Alex Cobb is reliant on, fastball splitter. The fastball, it sets up a higher eye level, and the splitter is supposed to play off of the vertical break there. So for those at home who don't understand what vertical separation is, it's basically the difference in movement between your fastball and like your off-speed pitches or your secondaries or whatever it may be. And when you exceed 10 inches of vertical separation, that's when you have a plus pitch. You have a really good tunnel there because it's really hard to identify that. It's really hard to try to track a pitch like that and then track a splitter that's falling off the table. So the Yankees are going to have to, stay within the strike zone as well. It's going to be tough. That splitter is going to be easy to chase against. It's going to be very tempting. You're going to see a lot of swings out of the zone at pitches that are in the dirt. As you mentioned, it's going to be really hard to elevate the ball as well off of Alex Cobb, but he's a command first, stuff second type of guy, right? So this means that all it takes is just one or two not great pitches and one or two, two or three poorly executed pitches, and the Yankees could potentially capitalize off of that. It's probably not going to happen off the splitter, but if he throws a fastball, he's trying to get up and in on a righty, let's say, and it just stays over the heart of the plate, that's a very easy pitch to hit. So, again, the Yankees are just going to have to try to be patient and just wait on mistakes because Cobb is someone who's, again, a command first guy, right? He's going to hit his spots. This isn't a stuff first guy. This isn't a guy who's going to blow you away with his fastball or whip out a sweeper that you can't really figure out what to do with. But I don't think that this is a matchup the Yankees should feel like they have the distinct advantage in. Cobb, I feel like, is a super underrated pitcher. His ERA is pretty league average, but if you look at his FIP, if you look at kind of the numbers underneath the hood, it looks really good, right? The FIP has been really good over the last 2 years. The skill interactive ERA, XFIP, all of those things. The strikeout to walk rates are pretty solid. The ground ball rates are elite. So, I think this is a much more talented pitcher than people give him credit for. I think it's gonna be really hard to score off of him, but you had to hope he could potentially get into that bullpen because their bullpen isn't great, but that's probably going to be your best bet. Stay patient and then try to get to the bullpen.
Yep. Okay, so here's my prediction on how the Yankees can get some runs here. I think Volpe slaps a single to the left side of the infield, ground ball right through the gap, steals second base, DJ LeMahieu slaps an opposite field single, and he scores. That's my prediction. Home run predictions, I could see Oswaldo Cabrera getting on the board today. I just feel like he's due. I feel like, he had a bad performance in opening day. He's going to looking to bounce back. He's going to be waiting on maybe a sinker low, and he's going to try and crank one. Obviously, Alex Cobb is a righty, so and Oswaldo Cabrera will be batting from the left side and try to get one over that short right portion of Yankee Stadium. So I think he's going to be sitting on a low sinker, and he's going to try and crank one over the stands. So any offensive predictions for you?
Yeah, so I feel like the Yankees are going to kind of have a little bit of a struggle offensively today, just kind of the same vibe as opening day. It's still early in the year and they're facing a good pitcher. But if I had to pick one guy to go yard or have a big day offensively, I feel like it's Josh Donaldson's day. Cobb, again, doesn't have an excellent fastball, whereas Webb had a really good sinker, and I feel like that was going to be tough for Josh Donaldson, who, is prone to taking a lot of called strike threes. I think with that fastball, I think he's going to be sitting fastball. I think he'll take a fastball and he'll get a hold of one. I don't know if he'll shoot the other way or pull it. I'll guess shoot the other way here. No, I'll guess pull. He'll pull a fly ball. It'll be the home run that gets the Yankees started, and I think they'll win this game about 2-1. It's going to be a close one. I think that Josh Donaldson home run is going to be kind of like the only run scoring we see today.
Well, we need Clark Schmidt to step up big then, don't we? It's going to be a really interesting game. Obviously, we got you guys covered on all platforms with the highlights as the game goes on, and then the post-game reports written, and of course on the YouTube channel and Spotify and Apple. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this pre-game kind of analysis, taking a look at the matchups, taking a look at the Estevan Florial, DFA, a lot of movement going on within this Yankee roster currently, and as they kind of try to figure things out and wait for some of these injured stars to return. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. As always, make sure to like and subscribe. Enjoy the game today, and we'll catch you guys a bit later on the next Fireside Yankees episode.